Hello and welcome along everyone. I'm Ben Milden, commentator for the SBR F1 series. This is round 1, season 2, and we've gone all vintage 1991 season flashback, and let's take you through the teams. So in McLaren we've got Jake Hill number 1, Liam McEwen number 2. At Williams we've got number 5 Lewis Edwards, number 6 is Nathan Tompkinson. Ferrari number 27 is Sean Cole, number 28 is Ben Milden. At Benetton, number 19 is Will Friedman, number 20 is Chris Clements. At Jordan it's Leon Walsh, number 32, and number 33 is Lewis Dykes. At Tyrrell, number 3 Nick Sargent, number 4 Dean Milden. At Leighton House, number 15 is Jordan Hogan, number 16 is Michael Watts. And finally at Brabham, number 7 is Luke Clifford, and number 8 is Brian Ross. So that's the grid, let's get to the action at Fuji. So you've seen the grid, and much like 1991 itself, it's Mansell versus Senna on the front row with Jake ahead of Lewis, and we're away for the first round of this series in Season 2 SBR F1, and it looks like Lewis has got a great start down the inside of Jake, and the two Ferraris watching brief, but the two Ferraris going to combat as well, and there's a bit of a collision, and that's put Nathan out wide and back further. I saw one of the Brabhams going off into the gravel. We'll come to that later, but it is Lewis that leads from Sean, then it is Jake. And here's the action further back, so we're on board with Leon in the Jordan, and he's just moving up on the Leighton House of Jordan, and up the back there, so something's gone wrong for somebody. This is Nick running wide, and we're on board with Nick now. Gets a pretty good launch. And one of the Leighton Houses just doesn't move, so he's gone to the back, and that's Michael by the looks of it. And into the first corner, what happens here? And well, Nick just gets his braking all wrong, and he's sent both Brabhams into orbit and into the race of next week by the looks of it, but they all get back on track. Luke way back in 16th, so he's going to have a mammoth effort, and this is on board with Luke. Just one more view of this, and he's just going to get shoved, hits the Benetton, hits his teammate, and there's nothing he can do to stop that. Goes into the gravel. Luckily after the race they all sorted it out, and in the end laughed about it, I think. But Lewis leads the opening exchanges of this new season ahead of the Ferrari, the McLaren, the Ferrari, the other McLaren, and then the Benetton and Jordan and Tyrrell are going into combat. And who's going to win out there? That looks like it's going to be Lewis. Lewis Dykes that gets ahead, sideways though from him on the exit. A few other cars flying off Jordan there, and the Leighton House getting a bit muscled out, and Will's back to 9th, so he'll look to improve on that a bit. Will's managed to practice for this race, so expecting better things from him. Leon goes off at that tricky right-hander down the bottom of the hill, and Luke's still way at the back, but it is Lewis that's going to lead this first lap ahead of Sean. So the pole sitter Jake down to 3rd place in the McLaren. He's got Sean's teammate Ben just behind him in the 28 car. So again, I'll just take this opportunity to thank Ashley for doing the liveries, as well as Nick and Ben who did the Leighton House, and I want to thank Will for doing the standings and that you'll see after this race. Again, a mammoth effort from everybody at SBR to get this season off and running, and it looks fantastic as Nathan's already making up places. Looks like he's got past Dean in the Tyrrell Honda, and he has, as the other Tyrrell Honda comes under threat, and that's one of the Leighton Houses passing, and through goes Michael Watts there going through. Luke now just starting to catch the back of the field, but very much at the front of the field. Lewis still with a good gap to Sean in the 27 Alan Prost car, and there's Ben in the Lacey car, Liam in the Gerhard Berger car, and they're both ahead of the Jordan, which is punching above its weight right now. Everybody in cars that represented their speed last season, a couple of guys have improved, so it's kind of messed that up a little bit. But we had the grid that we thought we would get, which was McLaren, Ferrari and Williams all up the front, taking the top 6 positions. So can anyone get involved in those top 6 guys? Well, the Benetton guys would be the likely source for that, and that's Chris and Will. Chris right now up in 7th, beating one of the Williams, but he's behind a Jordan. And Nathan just trying to get back in touch with that lead group after obviously getting muscled out at the start. It's quite narrow into turn 1. The 2 Ferraris went side by side with Jake, and it was Jake and Nathan that got a bit punted out there. As we start lap 3, 34 lap race. Remember, these guys mostly will use the soft tyre, but they have to use the hard tyre for at least 1 lap. Nathan trying to go around the outside of Chris, and I think Chris won't fight that too much, although he's keeping alongside, but Nathan should have the drive out the hairpin there at turn 1. And now I'll have the inside now for this fast kink, and one of them is going to have to give up, and it is Chris. So he's playing the long game in the Benetton Ford. They'll flash through here. And Luke has caught the pack. He's right up now on the back of the Leighton house. So he continues to look at the leaders, and Jake now moving on to the back of the Ferrari. And this is controversial back in the day, Senna versus Prost. You pay money to see that again. Liam going off a little bit there in that fast kink. Very easy to do, as you can see. Dean's done the same in his Tyrrell. Will in 10th. And chaos behind as Jordan, Luke trying to come through past Nick, and we flash back to something here. Now we've got to move here, so this looks like Jake sizing up Sean, and Sean's ran wide, so that's what we've switched to see, a replay of the 2nd position being taken by Jake, and now he'll go and hunt down Lewis, and we flick back to this battle, and you can see Luke taking 15th place off Nick. Nick doesn't give it up, but gets a massive oversteer, and he'll have to give that up now, and Luke will go on the hunt for Jordan in the Leighton house, which is extremely confusing. Start lap 4, field top 4 starting to bunch up a little bit, and Nathan's trying to close onto the back of his next victim. So just look back to see where everyone is. Brian doing a good job at the moment, up in 12th in the Brabham, which was not fancied, but Luke's making it work as well, so maybe this is a good track for them. Lewis leads ahead of Jake, ahead of Sean, ahead of Ben. Top 4 just starting to stretch away a bit from Liam. Didn't quite have the pace in qualifying, and it seems to have translated to the race for him, unfortunately. Keep an eye on it. Just dropping a bit off the back now. Lewis setting a good pace. Ben a bit wide there into that corner in the 28 Ferrari, and you can see that Liam's dropped back a bit, a mistake we think, just a slight one, and that's got Lewis Dykes on him, right behind him now. Will, you can see us on the hard tyre, that's why he's struggling a little bit for pace. Plenty of dirty tyres going through that corner. You can see the shine on the tyres where they've been off, and that does affect you for about 2 corners. So down the straight again we go, and Jake's definitely closer to Lewis this time. So Liam's dropped back a bit. Dean and Lewis Dykes having a bit of a battle for 8th at the moment. Chris pulling away from those two in the Benetton. So we flash forward to see what's going on here, and you can see Jake now all over the back of Lewis's Williams Renault through this real fast kink, and then this right hander not quite flat. You have to have a little breathe on the throttle, as you saw there from Lewis's telemetry, just a slight breathe on it, get back on it, because you don't want to use these tyres. You need to take them quite far into this race. And let's see who comes out on top at the end with the strategy. It's a beautiful Ferrari comes flashing past, followed by his teammate who's closing in a little bit. Liam's still dropping back slightly, unfortunately. But he's going to be under pressure from Nathan anytime soon, as Nathan's made his way through the pack. Dean in 8th, Lewis in 9th, Brian in 10th, brilliant for Brabham, ahead of Leon who's 11th. 12th is Michael, ahead of Luke who's flying through the pack, and 13th now, but that won't help his tyres, so he's disposed of a couple cars. Will down to 16th, so Will's pitted, he's got off the hard tyres, he's done 4 laps on them, so we've covered that pit stop for you in the Michael Schumacher car. Schumacher Schumacher's second team in 2 races after he sold out Jordan a little bit. And he pits, new tyres, plenty of fuel, and Will's got rid of those hards now, so he can charge now to the end of the race on soft tyres and not have to worry about fitting those horrible hard tyres that are about 2 seconds a lap slower. Lewis a good exit, but he's got Jake closing him down. Marlborough, McLaren, 2 Ferraris just keeping a watching brief right now. Liam still starting to come under pressure from Nathan. Chris in no man's land a little bit. Dean still keeping an eye on Lewis Dykes as he closes in. Brian happily in 10th, and here's a battle for 12th, and it's Michael Watts and Luke Clifford as he closes in. It looks like Michael's going to pit, to be fair, and he does. But Luke could be happy with the slipstream that he got. So the first stop for the Leighton House Ilmore, and it's in and out, so it's a quick tyre change for him. He's gone onto the hard tyres, so he's going to try and get rid of those. You might do a lap on them, that's all you have to do. But the battle for the lead is starting to intensify. Jake now definitely moving in on that car, on the Williams. Red 5 leads Red 1. Very much the story of the 91 season. With Sean there. Again, just off the back of these guys. But enjoying his debut in the Ferrari with his teammate Ben. Now onto the straight, and Jake's much closer this time, I would say. Can he get close enough though? The slipstream works quite well up to a certain speed, but then both cars tend to top out a little bit, about 190-ish, 180-ish. There we go, up to about 190, and then that's about your lot. Jake looks down the inside, but it was only really to try and scare Lewis, but it didn't work. And Lewis keeps the lead. Jake will have to think of somewhere else to pass. We'll wait until that straight again the next lap if he can stay as close as he is now. And if they keep battling, surely Sean will close in on them. There was a few changes further back. But I think someone's just pitting, so we'll cover that in a second, that's no problem. Ben's in 4th, starting to, well, not quite keep up with these guys now. That's the change that I noticed. So it's Nathan, it's caught Liam, and he'll just draft past him down the front straight. I think Liam knows he hasn't quite got the pace today, so I think he'll try and out-strategize these guys and see if he can't get up into the top 4. Meanwhile, Michael Watts on those hard tyres is probably wishing he never put them on. They're really horrible, and he's had a spin. As we go back to the leaders, and it's definitely still Lewis ahead of Jake, ahead of Sean, then Ben. Nathan now up to 5th place. He'll have to go and chase down those leaders. And Liam's 6th, Chris is in 7th, 8th at the moment is Lewis Dykes. And 9th is Dean Milden. Brian Ross, sorry, is 10th, then ahead of Leon Welsh. And then Luke Clifford in 12th, driving really well, coming back through the field after that horrendous crash at turn 1. Then we've got Nick and Jordan fighting for the minor placings, but the last point. And that looks like Jordan down the inside. Yeah, he did. We flashed back to it just in time. And Nick now down to the last points pay in place of 15th. And in the pits is Jake then with the McLaren, and his teammates followed him as well. So they've obviously been talking about strategy. Both McLarens now leave the pits. Jake down in 6th, Liam down to 8th, but he's got a bit of free air. He just gets out in front of Dean's Tyrrell Honda. Locks up a bit. Gets it stopped though. Brian having a great race in 10th at the moment, holding off Leon and his teammate Luke, with Will closing in on his softs now. Will's race definitely starting now with those tyres. Michael really needs to pit and get off those hards. He doesn't have to go as far as he's going on them. 2 Ferraris look a bit closer, and well, so close to copying each other. Nathan determined to try and catch back up to those guys in the Patrese car. And there's Jake having made that pit stop. Luckily for him, come out just in front of Chris and Lewis, so he's quite fortunate that way. Liam not so fortunate, has to make his way through. Luke trying to go round the outside of Leon, but that's never going to work there. And in fact, Will's going to take advantage of this and get 2 for 1. He's he's going to do my shopping at the supermarket next time he goes, because he's just got a 2-for-1 offer there, and up from 13th to 11th, and he'll probably get past Brian very quickly as well. Brian going to be on very old tyres now, or 8-lap old tyres compared to Will's, which I think are about 4 laps old. So onto the straight. He's got overtake if he wants to use it, but I don't think he's going to need it. And he tries to go past Brian. Oh, not quite. That Brown's got some good legs on it with the Yamaha engine. Down the straight, and it's going to be a braking duel into the first corner as Luke pits, and so does Leon. See someone else looking to pit in the background. It looked like it might have been Nick, but oh, Brian loses the back end on the curb, and that's put him into Will. Will takes the place and should hold it, as quite frankly it wasn't really his fault. Luke's come out on hard tyres. Leon comes out on softs, and he's filled up with quite a lot of fuel. Michael quite far off the back after that moment on the hard tyres, which I believe he's still on. But Michael learned that from next week. He just needs to put him on for 1 lap. Lewis will be quite happy that Jake's pitted there. He can get on with his race a little bit more, concentrate on his lines and his lap times, and you can see he's got away a little bit from the Ferraris as Sean pits in the first of them. So he pits the end of lap 9. Ferrari team go to work on the 27 car, and how long will Sean be stationary? It's quite a while, so it might be a lot of fuel going in that Ferrari, and it is pretty much a full tank. And now he comes out behind Liam, who's caught up to the Jordan of Lewis, as Brabham comes in of Brian. The number 8 Mark Blundell car. A couple of MB Motorsport people racing tonight, so we got Mark Blundell's Brabham, and we got Jake Hill racing in the Senna car, and Lewis is in as well. Sorry, Luke. So both Brabhams in the pits. Jordan goes in there, so Luke getting away, and he's put the softs on, so he's done 1 lap on the hard tyres, I believe. So that's him sorted. He can get to the end of the race as we go past Mount Fuji onto the front straight, which is pretty mammoth itself, but that looks like to me like Lewis was thinking about pitting. He is. So Lewis pits out the lead that he's had since the start, and for 10 laps comes in. Ben takes the lead in the Lacey Ferrari. Nathan goes through as well in the other Williams. And Jake, who's already pitted, looks like he's gone past as well, so it looks like Lewis has lost his lead. Again, this is all strategy, and as if anyone that saw Interlagos last season, the last round, it all comes down to the last lap sometimes. So we won't know until then who's in what position. Ooh, Lewis comes out and into the side of Chris there, and Chris survives that moment, but Lewis just getting his braking a little bit wrong. Meanwhile, there's been an incident of some kind, and Jake it is that's gone onto the AstroTurf, done a 360 in the middle of the road, but great recovery. He already had it down to first gear, and he's away. Probably lost about 2-3 seconds with that, but hopefully that doesn't come back to bite him later. But now we have the Ferrari leading, and it's the different one now. It's Ben leading the race. The Lacey car ahead of Nathan, who's definitely closing in on him. So Nathan having a stellar stint since that incident at turn 1. Jake's already pit, remember. And now we've got Chris against Lewis, and Lewis with fresh tyres makes that look very easy, and Liam should do the same. In the background you can see Sean's got past the Jordan of Lewis Dykes, who's having a great race, the Jordan Ford. And there goes Liam down the inside. Chris, that should be easy enough, and that's job done. So Liam trying to hold on to Lewis. Lewis obviously put a lot of fuel in, and Liam didn't when he pitted. That's why the positions have changed slightly. And Ben pits. Second of the Ferraris comes in. Team go to work, changing the tyres. Ben's normally one that puts in quite a lot of fuel. Nathan's in as well at the same time in the Patrese Williams. Let's see how long he takes. Again, fuel very critical. There's a few others come in. That looks like Lewis Dykes is in, and Chris, and Nathan away behind Ben still. Yep, Lewis Dykes is in, and Chris, Jordan and Benetton, they're fighting each other on the track. So this is an interesting battle. Chris is away, And there goes Lewis, a little bit behind, pretty much the same distance as Ben and Nathan are. And he gets some nice clean track as well. But Jake back into the lead, despite that spin. And well ahead of Lewis. But again, fuel loads and tyre strategies are still yet to play out. So this is not a real order, I would say, until you, like I say, see the last lap or two. Because obviously these drivers don't really want to use the hard tyre unless they have to, and they have to, but they just decide when they want to use it. Some use it one lap in the middle of the race, some use it on the very last lap, so again, some use it just at the start. So again, we just need to see what strategies are playing out. As Dean there in 10th place in the Tyrrell Honda, well ahead of Leon, who's ahead of Dean's teammate Nick. Tyrrell's sort of doing okay, and the Brabhams are at the back and 13th and 14th at the moment, but Luke is on the charge, and it's the Leighton Houses that are having a nightmare. Jordan 15th and 16th for Michael, who's already a lap down. So Jake with a very comfortable lead. Lewis not shaking off Liam. But remember, Liam was pretty short on the old fuel, so that's why he's there. Ben's still under pressure from Nathan, who's still edging towards him. Got the lap car of Michael between them. As Will's leading the Benetton charge in 7th, ahead of his teammate Chris in 8th. And here are the two Brabhams. It looks like Lewis has got ahead of Brian. Looking on board with Luke. Brian closing in, but I doubt he'll make much of an attempt to get past his teammate, and he doesn't. Just wanted the slipstream. And Luke should be able to pull away, judging by the qualifying pace. And he'll set on after the Tyrrell Honda of Nick. Again, the Leighton House is really not having a great day so far. Oh, and here's a battle. Liam now has Sean all over him. Remember, Liam's done a few more laps on his tyres. Sean pitted not so long ago, and the red Ferrari's moving in. See, these drivers have the right crash helmets, they have the overalls, the cars to match, so it's a proper replica season. It's just the cars that aren't quite the same as period, but they look very similar. And that's a good move from Sean around the outside, and that was a car off, and who was that? It looked like a Williams to me, and here's the replay, and it's Lewis. He's done what Jake did on the AstroTurf, but he didn't quite manage to loop it like Jake did, which lost Jake very little time, and now he's lost out 2 positions to Sean, who's just passed Liam, so he's got a 2 for 1. He's been shopping at the same place as Will. And Lewis down to 4th place, and that might affect his chances of winning this race. And he'll come under pressure from Ben and Nathan now as well, because he's when you spin these tyres, they don't like it. So the drivers are quite careful on them. It's the Jordan there of Leon crossing the line just ahead of Nick, who's being caught very quickly by Luke. Brian's still doing a pretty good job in 14th, and he's well ahead of the Leighton House cars. And here's Jake, still leading this race, and he'll know about Lewis's spin, and he'll be quite happy about it, because Lewis was definitely piling the pressure on. Sean looking good in that Ferrari though. Looks like he's got pretty good pace. Certainly a little bit more than his teammate today. Doesn't seem quite at it like we saw at Interlagos. Here's Will, the first of the Benetton Fords, ahead of his teammate by about 4 or 5 seconds. Dean in 9th place in the Tyrrell Honda. Dean fairly new to this. Also only just got a wheel and pedals a couple of days ago, so doing quite well to be up there in 9th place ahead of the Jordan, the experienced Lewis. Experience for a 14-year-old anyway. And then the very experienced at drinking Leon in 11th place. Luke still the first of the Brabhams in 12th, and he's got ahead of Nick. So we might get a replay on that. And there's Brian in 14th. And we've been for this again. Jordan 15th. Jake still with his lead. Sean really doing a good job in the Ferrari though, and he's been aided by that spin from Lewis, as we get a flashback to a pit stop that we missed, which was Liam and Will at the same time. So well done to the director for providing that. Liam goes back out on softs, and again 3/4 fuel, so he's doing little stints by the looks of it. Will comes out. We know he's ran the hard tyres at the start of the race, and he's filled up with fuel, so he can go much further, so he could have a shot at Liam later in the race. Not so far back. It's Jake Pitts now from the lead as we come back to the live action. So Jake, about 10 laps I think he did on those tyres. No, not even that much I don't think. Must have been about 6 or 7 laps actually. And didn't have much fuel left. Maybe pitted a bit earlier than he hoped to, but he built up a nice lead, especially with the mistake of Lewis in the Williams. Let's see how much fuel he decides to put in. And a full tank for Jake. Leaves the pits in 5th. And he's well ahead of his teammate Liam, who's just about coming down there now into the first corner. And he's not too far ahead of Chris in the Bannerson Ford. And it's now the other Ferrari that leads this race. So both Ferraris had a turn at the front now, and now it's Sean. Ben moving in on Lewis. So the Ferraris are on the attack all of a sudden. Lewis will be struggling a little bit after that spin. It does take a bit of life out your tyres when you do stuff like that. And the 28 Ferrari moving in on the 5 Williams Renault, red 5. Just behind that it's Nathan, who's, remember, he got absolutely stuffed out wide on the first corner and is had to come back from about 10th place. So he's doing well to be back in this lead group. Lewis really struggling on the exit of the corner there with the tyres again, and that'll be music to the ears of Ben, who's in the slipstream. Let's just see Sean just up ahead. Ben will be desperate to get this move done. He even used a bit of overtake there, but Lewis is pretty well just held the inside line, and he's going to have to try and go around the outside, but it's not far enough alongside Lewis to do that, so has to back out of it. Lewis keeps second place for now. See the Ferraris darting around behind the Williams he once passed, and Lewis quite deep into that corner. Ben out wide will try and go around the outside. That's a brave man that does that, and it doesn't work. Well, he could dive down the inside at this next corner, and again that's brave, but not quite able to do it, and sort of outbrakes himself in the end, and that's going to bring Nathan even closer to that battle. And here's Jake after that second pit stop closing in quickly as well. So 8th now is, sorry, 9th is Dean here, still being tracked by Lewis Dykes. And they've got Will behind them, who's pitted for a second time. Leon in the pits with a Jordan Ford. Just behind him, Brian's pitted as well for another set of softs. Away from the pits goes Leon in 12th position. Comes out pretty aggressively, but there's no one there, so he's got away with that. Brian now down to 14th. So Nick comes past in the Tyrrell, and that's Brian onto the hard tyres, so hopefully he knows he can just do a lap on those. And that looks like Nathan's just overtaken the Leighton House, who fancies a run back on the straight, but backs out of that quite correctly. Sean still leads this though in the Ferrari. You can see he's got a couple lappies behind just to throw something else into it. Ben's not giving up on Lewis. Really does need to make that move in the next couple of laps or he'll struggle with tyres. Jake's hunting those guys down. That free pack that's got Nathan at the back of it. Dean still being chased by Lewis Dykes. They go through turn 1. That's Will still closing in on him. Leon quite far back now in 12th. But Luke's pitted out of 11th. The Brabham, so he's still moving forward, doing a great job in that car. Luke was about 3-4 seconds off the pace, but managed to find a fix just before the race tonight, and it gave him about 2 seconds a lap. So he had added weight on his car, and it does explain a lot. He did look like a pretty good driver, but wasn't producing the lap times, which was confusing to everyone. But we all went through his settings and we found the reason why. And now he is flying. Probably too fast for the Brabham, to be fair. But Sean leads. It's a good lead over Lewis, who's tracked by Ben, who's tracked by Nathan, who's got Jake closing in very quickly. Over halfway in this race now. And that looks like Dean's trying to break the slipstream, or is he trying to pit? Nope, he's just trying to break the slipstream from the Jordan, but he can't do too much more of that weaving. Jordan closing in very quickly, but not quick enough and can't make the move into turn 1. And and they're being closed down very quickly by Will, who's on fresh tyres. It should be a matter of time before he catches these guys. Benetton running well. Well, we didn't qualify too well because of the hard tyres. I think he actually qualified 10th. He's in 10th at the moment, but remember, with the extra stop, he's running net, I would say, P8, P7. So he's definitely battling his teammate for top Benetton honours today. Benetton and 91 were a bit of a coming team. He'd been there or thereabouts in the last couple seasons, but this was the season they got Michael Schumacher, and the rest is history, as they say. Sean pits from the lead, and he's already down to 5th as cars flash by. Let's see where he comes out and what tyre strategy he decides. Does he go onto the hards now, or does he carry on with the softs, keep the pace going? See, the Ferrari team have finished, and away he goes. A lot of fuel, and stays on the soft tyre, so things are pointing towards him going onto the hard towards the end. Ben still no closer to getting past Lewis, and in fact Lewis's teammate Nathan is closing in for the kill. Dean's got a bit of a queue behind him, and Lewis, who's been fighting him most of the race in the Jordan, is really now applying the pressure. Will's caught them in that lap, and with his fresh tyres will look to capitalise on another 2-for-1 offer. Tyrrell leads, Jordan leads Benetton through this very fast section. Brilliant to drive in these cars, literally on the limit. And they head downhill into this very tricky right-hander, which you just got to get right, or else you're in the dirt and you lose time on the next 2-3 corners trying to sort your tyres out. Dean gets it right, Will a bit wide, but not enough to affect his tyres. Oh, he's into the back there a little bit of Lewis, so it might have affected him slightly. That's kind of broke those two guys up, so that might help him actually in some sort of way. As we see Luke in 11th place, quite a way back from these guys. But he is pitted, so it depends where Dean and Lewis come out after their pit stops. It looks like Dean's actually going to pit this time, yep. And now Will can sort out Lewis if he can. We'll try and go around the outside at turn 1. It's brave, but we've seen Sean do it. And we can just brake late enough. Will's gone for it. Oh, collision there, touch of the wheels. Both survive. Oh, Will just gets a massive swapper as he comes out the corner, but that's going to take him the rest of the lap to catch back up to Lewis again now. Dean comes out on the softs, pretty much full fuel again. Just a little bit shy of full fuel. And he's got a good lead to Luke, so Luke wasn't able to manage to close back up. As Nick runs off a little bit. Brian's starting to storm to the back of the field a little bit. He's 15th now, having made a good start. And what's this all about? This is Lewis, and he's got Ben on him. Ben's going past him, but Lewis is pitting anyway. It looked like the Ferrari's getting past there, but it's too late for him. He spent half the stint behind the Williams, and well, probably fighting each other is not going to help them in the long run. As Lewis now comes out now, that wouldn't surprise me. That's a hard tyre, yep. So he's doing exactly like he did at Interlagos, which nearly won him the race when he switched to the hard tyres in the 3rd stint. And he's come out in front with Sean and Liam, but remember he'll probably do one lap on those and come straight back in. Chris Pitts from what was 7th. Number 20 Nelson Piquet, Benetton Ford. And he's lost out to his teammate and the Jordan of Lewis as they continue their fight. Be frustrating for Will. He's not really in that battle. He's a bit further up the road and on corrected time, if you put it that way. As Chris comes out, new set of softs, full fuel, so you may not need much more fuel to get to the end of the race, but he's going to have to put the hard tyres on. Dean in 10th, and he's come out behind Chris, so he's not really fighting the Benettons today. In fact, he's going to have to watch out for Luke, who's still on the charge. Jordan's recovering quite well for Leighton House, but not so good as the Nakajima material that's being driven by Nick, who's lost it. And it's those hard tyres again, pesky hard tyres. And like I said, no one really likes using them, but Lewis has come back in after using them. Ben's in the pits as well with the Ferrari. Liam's in, and so's Nathan. So Nathan with a bit more fuel than Ben. Ben literally ran out of fuel as he entered the pit lane, we're told. So that might give Nathan the advantage as they head down the pits. Where's the Ferrari to? And the answer's behind him. So Nathan's jumped Ben in the pits by saving probably a bit of fuel while he was battling Lewis. Lewis comes out on softs and won't need a pit again. So now it's whether Nathan and Ben can get away from Lewis enough. Liam has caught the back of Will. And that seems who he's battling for 6th place, to be honest. Dean in 9th. And will he come out in front of Lewis? Just flashes past the exit of the pit lane. Look. So Lewis has still got to find a way past that Tyrrell. Oh, and he won't do it like that. And he's very lucky to get away with that. Everyone else that's gone off there has spun. And completely ruined their races a bit. So Jake now already lapping up to 12th place. Ferocious pace at the front. Ben still behind Nathan and he'll be kicking himself with that. But he tried to find a way past Lewis, used a lot of fuel doing it, and Nathan was just sat there using his brain, saved a bit of fuel, and it was enough for him. As Will's gone wide, and that's allowed Liam through, and Will's going to have to just try and troll around the outside there on the added tarmac, and that gets him back into the race, back in 7th place. But a lot of time lost, and he'd be pretty good about that. He was racing that McLaren, but that could be the difference at the end of the race. Little differences are costly in this championship. We saw that at Interlagos last season. Just a slight error can cost you a win or a podium even. Leon still in 12th. It's been pretty much there for a while now. Leighton House moving out the way of the McLaren as the McLaren continues to lead. It's looking more likely that Jake's got this in the bag with the lead he's got at the moment, but we've said that before and been wrong. Sean looking pretty good in 2nd at the moment. Nathan 3rd, really up in the pace. Ben 4th. And Lewis 5th, but doesn't have to stop again. So again, we need to see how this all shakes out. Liam's 6th, and to be honest with you, it looks like he's kind of nailed on there unless Will can catch back up, but Will's on pretty worn tyres at the moment. His teammates in 8th, ahead of Dean in 9th in the Tyrrell, doing a good job for them. 10th is Lewis in the Jordan, the first of the Jordans, ahead of Luke in the first of the Brabhams, who's probably the surprise of the race, other than what's happening at the front. Leon 12th on his debut in the Jordan. 13th is Jordan. 14th is Brian. 15th Nick, and 16th is Michael, who's not having a great day. So Nathan just about dropping Ben, but a couple tenths a lap by the looks of it. Yeah, Ben just struggling to hang on, but they both got work together to get away from Lewis. So we're working lap 25 now, so this race is flashing by as Will comes out the pits again, and that should be him to the end. Let's have a look at his fuel. Yeah, that should be him good to the end now. On softs, it comes out just ahead of Lewis, and that's going to be crucial as we look back at the Jordan. He'll be desperate to get back past, but against fresh tyres, he hasn't really got a hope. In fact, Lewis running a bit wide. Collect the marbles out there, and that will cost him a bit of time. Now Will can go on the attack, and really I think he's chasing 7th place as Jake pits from the lead. Sure, we'll come to that. We'll go and just try and chase down Dean and a few others. Still Jake in the pits now. He's leaving the pits, and there he is. Comes out in 2nd, and that's him to the end. Fresh softs and enough fuel. Really is now, what does Sean do, and how long he's going to be in the pits as he leads now this race again. But he's going to have to run the hard tyre. Nathan in 3rd, Ben 4th. Gap to Lewis still about the same-ish, although Lewis has just done his fastest of the race. Liam looks, like I said, nailed on 6th. Doesn't really have the pace of the front guys, but well clear of the rest. Chris hasn't been able to take the fight to him, and Will is been stuck in traffic, and that's cost him a lot of time. Lewis comes out in 10th, and he's good to the end, but he's on the hard tyre, so he might want to pit again to put the soft on. And here comes Luke. Ooh, steady Luke over the curb, but like I say, might impressive race from him. The leaders come up to a few more tail enders. Michael Pitts. Sean still leads this and carries on for another lap. Jake's second. Nathan third, looks like he's pitting. Or not. He's still got Ben just about close enough to annoy him, especially with the pit stops coming up. Just trying desperately to keep the gap down to those guys, because when they pit he wants to be in front of them. Chris winning the Benetton battle, but we know Will's flying on new tyres as he's right behind the Tyrrell Honda now of Dean. I think Dean's going to pit soon anyway, but Will want this done this lap so he can chase his teammate. The laps are counting down. There's only 8 to go, and that's Will down the inside. We saw someone was pitting there. That was probably Luke to get off the Lewis to get off those hard tyres, and I think it was. Yes, it was. He's off the hard tyres onto the softs, and that's him to the end. So he's out in 11th place, and he'll try and chase down Luke, Dean and a few others, see how high he can get. Luke definitely going to have to pit again with the fuel that's left on his car. Brian a little bit out of control there, 14th, but he's well ahead of Nick. And the Leighton House is just not really at the party, although Jordan is 13th. Sean leads then, Jake second, and the McLaren Honda. It's the Williams Renault of Nathan. He's ahead of Ben in the Ferrari. He's well ahead of Lewis at the moment in the Williams Renault, who started from pole, remember. They've got a good gap back to Liam in the second McLaren Honda at 6th. He's got a massive gap back to Chris Clements in the Benetton Ford, who's stuck in traffic, and that won't help him because his teammates got through and is now chasing after him. He's got past Dean. I think I can see Dean pitting in the background actually. Nope, Dean's still going, so it wasn't him, and it was Luke actually in the Brabham. So this will be interesting to see where he comes out against Lewis. Kind of been chasing him down all race after that issue at turn 1 where he was sent to Suzuka, which is the end of the season. So need a bit of fuel though, so this could be quite a long stop in reality, and I don't think he's going to be too close to Lewis, to be honest. Let's see, comes out, and no, we can't even see Lewis, so Lewis is well past Sean Pitts. Mr. Director, let's see it, there we go. Let's see how long this stop is. This probably, is this going to be the hard tyres? I don't remember Sean using them yet. And he comes out behind his teammate and on the hard tyre, so he's out behind his teammate and he has to pit again. But he's done his fuel, whereas Ben's going to have to put some fuel in. And he's out ahead of Lewis, so this is all starting to take shape now, with the last 5 laps to go. Like I say, Liam doesn't look like he can do much more than 6. There's a few more cars pit. Will hunting down his teammate though, he's really closing fast. Dean's still in his wake. And yeah, Lewis well ahead of Luke, so that was never really a battle. As Brian pulls away from 14th on the hard tyre, maybe do a lap on that, but like Nick's going to do as well. Very much the same strategy. Jake though, it's looking more and more likely he's got this in the bag. He's absolutely flying out front, and that spin doesn't seem to have slowed him down too much. Nathan just not in the same race really. Obviously hampered by that spin at the start. Ben in 3rd. Ferrari the first of the Ferraris, but Sean's done the hard tyre and he pits, gets rid of it. Definitely better with strategy today. Lagos was a bit of a disaster for him with that. He'll just change the tyres, probably need a little glug of fuel. Nope, don't even take that, he's gone. And he comes out in 6th behind Liam. Nope, ahead of Liam. He's got it, stayed 5th ahead of Liam. It looks like he's going to maintain that, yeah. Liam too far back. Will is past his teammates, so there's been a bit of Benetton swappery. I don't think Chris made it too hard for his teammate. Yeah, indeed, that last corner, look, a bit of truckers on the motorway. You go past, thank you very much. And Will takes the 7th place and he can chase after Liam, but to be honest with you, the gap's too big. Just McLaren, Williams, Ferrari, McLaren. So the top 6 teams, sorry, the top 6 cars are all in the top 6 positions as we, well, that was given to them, so they're using the cars as we thought they would. And the Bennettons are 7th and 8th, which is what was predicted. And there they are. So it looks like the organisers have got the right cars for the right drivers. Oh, Dean's not happy with his car though. He's stuck it in the wall, and he's done what 3 others or 4 others have done before him. That AstroTurf just auto spins him straight into the wall, and what looked like a 9th place looks like it's not going to be anymore, because here comes Lewis, and Lewis goes around the outside of him and takes the 9th place away from Dean, who's now 10th. And well, he's still due another pit stop, I think, as well, because he's running pretty low on fuel. And Luke might have a say in that for 10th, might even steal that off Dean after that crash. Leon's been 12th and stayed there and has been there a while. But now I'm pretty convinced that Jake's got this in the bag. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, not so sure what order that's going to be in. Ben and Nathan doing a good job. Liam's pitted, so that'll be for him for the hard tyres, so that kind of rules him out, because he's going to have to do at least 4 laps on those. I think the others are going to be doing a lap on them. I know Sean's already used them, so Sean's built his 5th place, and yeah, Liam's come out well in 6th place, so Will is on the softer tyre and probably will catch a little bit, but I think it's too late for him to catch that gap. So the interest in the race now is probably not the win. I think Jake's got that in the bag with the Ayrton Senna McLaren. The battle is for 2nd. It's between Nathan, Ben, Lewis and Sean for 2nd place, and it could be in any order. Lewis and Sean have used the hard tyre, Ben and Nathan still to do so, and it looks more and more likely that they'll put it on for the last lap. So it all depends whether you emerge from the pits, and you can see Nathan's built a big lead on Ben, and there you can see Lewis in the background. So it all depends how quickly these guys' teams can change the tyres. Lewis being hunted down by Sean, who's on brand new softs, so he'll be mega quick now with low fuel. 1:18.3 tells you all you need to know about that. Liam well ahead of Will, but Will be quicker on the softs, but you need to be at least 2 seconds a lap quicker to catch Liam. And as his softs aren't particularly new, I doubt that's going to be the case. So it's the calm before the storm as we get ready with these last couple laps. Great result this would be for Lewis if he can hang on to 9th place in that Jordan, and he's ahead of Dean, who's 10th, who looks like he's running out of tyres. He's definitely running out of fuel, so he's going to have to pit this lap. And where will he come out in comparison to Luke, who's been driving stunningly well? Scared everyone in practice when he did a low fuel run and did a very low 18, but he literally did that on fumes. So let's see if we can see what happens there. We'll come back to see who's run out now. This is interesting. So Sean in a lap has caught Lewis, so this should be a pretty big slam dunk for Sean. He should be able to get round him. He's already passed Lewis. I think it was round the outside today once down at turn 1. He's fancying it again by the looks of it. Lewis hugs the inside. Sean's a bit further back than he was last time, but he's going to go for it anyway and gets the move done. Yes, he does with the extra grip. He's got around the outside again, so another stunning move from Sean up into 4th place. Demotes Lewis. Remember, these two have both used the hard tyre, so they're going to the end, and that's Sean through, and next up in his sights is his teammate Ben, but we think Ben's pitting this lap. Ooh, Lewis has not got much left in those tyres. Liam struggling along on those hards. Will closing in, but it's probably too late. And Chris pits for the hard tyre with 2 laps to go. There you go, graphic changes on the hard tyre, but looks like a solid 7th place for him. But oh, Jake's come in again. Maybe he needs to run the hard tyre. We missed that. So yeah, in he comes for the hard tyre, and shortly will be followed by Nathan and Ben. He needs a bit of fuel as well, so let's see where he comes out. Still in the lead by the looks of it. So Ben and Nathan in. Ben with a little bit more fuel than Nathan that time, so that will help him close in a little bit, but the gap was pretty big. Nathan leaves the pits. Now where will he come in? And Sean's gone past, but he's ahead of Lewis. Ben comes up behind them all, and this is the last lap. So disaster for the second Ferrari car, so he's dropped down the order steadily as the race has gone on. But it's going to be Jake that's going to win this race, despite a 360 spin halfway through the race. Bit of showboating for the crowd maybe. Sean looks like he's nailed on for second in the Ferrari, third Nathan in the Williams, chased by his teammate, who doesn't want to finish behind his teammate. Lewis and then Ben in fifth. Sixth looks like it's going to be Liam. Seventh Will. Eighth is Lewis. Ninth is Chris, who's dropped back a bit. And the rest of the field come through and we'll confirm those results at the end of the race. But out the last corner, a stunning race, stunning victory in the shadow of Mount Fuji. It's going to be a win for Jake Hill in the McLaren Honda Ayrton Senna car. Number one, makes it number one, wins the race ahead of Sean in the 27 Ferrari Alan Prost. Great result for him, he'd be well pleased with that, but you can see the rest of the pack behind him. Look, it's so close between them. Third's going to be Nathan, great recovery drive. And the number 6 Williams, number 5 Williams is 4th, and that's Lewis. Number 28 Ferrari is 5th, and that's Ben. And here comes the number 2 McLaren Honda of Liam. Not quite at the races today, didn't quite have the pace, but solid points and a good start to the season for him. And then we're just waiting for the Benetton Ford, which is going to be Will. And he'll be well pleased with that, as will Lewis be pleased with 8th place. He's beaten one of the Benettons, and that's all he can do. So definitely one of the performances of the race. Lewis in the Jordan Ford will come home in 8th, ahead of the Benetton Ford of Chris, who'd be pretty disappointed with 9th. Probably thought he had 8th in the bag at least, and he's beat one of the other performances of the race, Luke in the Brabham Yamaha. He'll come home 10th, and he's ahead of Dean and Leon as we go through the results. So the results of the first round at Fuji are: Jake wins from Sean, Nathan, Lewis, Ben, Liam, Will, Lewis, Dykes, Chris, Luke, Dean and Leon the top 12, with Jake with the fastest lap. So a pretty stunning race there. And then just below Leon was Jordan in 13th with the Leighton House. Then it's Brian, Nick and unfortunately for Michael bringing up the rear, which means then in the championship obviously Jake leads from Sean, as we've just seen the results. So as the results from that first race, and the team's championship very close I believe between McLaren and Ferrari, which we'll switch to very shortly. Well, sorry, it's Williams 42, Ferrari 42, McLaren 41, Benetton 20, Jordan 12, Brabham 6, Tyrrell 4, Leighton House 1. But next week they'll be able to try and put that right at Autopolis, and join us for that next week. Hope you enjoyed this. We'll see you then from SBR.